Welcome to episode 30 of 100 Years of Marine Corps Tankers, a station dedicated to honoring the legacy of Marine tankers and remembering the stories of what made the community special, told through the words of those Marine that toes the line. Today, we are breaking the mold from previous episodes, as I am joined by two of our Marine Corps tank veterans from Vietnam. I'm joined by Sergeant Robert Haller and Sergeant Joe Tyson. And Joe has written a book here, a rather lengthy book that we can't see right now. There we go, called Unfortunate Sons. And it portrays the story of his platoon from the first day of getting into Vietnam all the way through multiple combat tours and operations, what we're going to hear about right now. Gentlemen, welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a true honor having you both. So, Bob, I'll start with you. What made you, in October 3rd, 1963, when I joined the Marine Corps?
I wanted to join the Marine Corps since I watched my last John Wayne movie, I think. Probably I was 9 years old, and I wanted to serve my country, and I couldn't think of anything better than the Marine Corps at the time. And then towards the end of high school, there were family issues and stuff like that, and I thought it was time to pack my bags and move on with my life.
Did you know right away you wanted to be a tanker?
No, I wanted to be in artillery.
Okay.
So when I stood there at attention and they told me my MOS, I didn't even know what it was.
That makes two of us.
Yeah.
Three of us.
And I know Joe, you and Bob are both from the Philadelphia area. What made you want to join the Marine Corps back in the?
Well, like Bob, I always, from a military family, and that basically was what you did then. Not everybody did. I mean, I wasn't going, and so I wanted to be a Marine, and I was going to make it a career.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the Vietnam War stopped that. Okay. With 18 straight months there.
But it wasn't right away that you both went to Vietnam. I think if I got my notes correct here, you both started out after going through, I guess, ITR. What is ITR?
Infantry Training Regiment out at Camp Geiger.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a guy. I went there.
So it's our version of MCT. I gotcha. All right. So after ITR, you both ended up out at Second Tanks. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Right. Well, I think I was going to Okinawa on one of the stops before Vietnam. That was in March.
Okay.
Of 65 when I got to Vietnam, when I landed March 7th. And I think Bob didn't get there till October.
September,
is that right, Bob?
September 21st, 1965.
All right, September. March, April, May, June, July. Well, that's why, I left in July and you left 7 months later, right?
That's correct.
So Bob, after ITR, going out to Second Tanks, the part of the San Dominican crisis, what was that?
San Domingo, I think the communists were trying to take over. The rebels were communist backed, and they had the whole 2nd Marine Division deployed down there. I was down there for 30 days. We set up outposts, set up roadblocks, and I spent most of my time on roadblocks for a month.
Okay. And were the tanks down there as well, or just the Marines?
We had tanks.
Okay.
Track tanks, Ontos, they had the whole thing down there. It was a big dog and pony show. I think it was the 82nd Airborne was down there. They had 3 battalions. It was a place that if you lit a match, it probably would have blown up. I mean, a lot of stuff there.
Okay.
And I was 19 years old, so I was a loader.
I gotcha. And Joe, after being in Second Tanks, you went down to Gitmo. What did you do down in Gitmo?
Well, we went down there with a contingent from the 6th Marines from Lejeune, the Poggy Bait 6, they were called. And I think it was a company of them. And then our platoon of tanks, 5 tanks. And then we had a flame tank there also, which came from headquarters company. But we just, like the infantry, they switched guard duty on the ridge line, which was where the wire was between the communist side and our side. And then we did the same thing. We patrolled the ridge,
And it's important
and
to
drank
note,
a lot.
it's important to note that the tanks that you all were on is probably something that the channel hasn't had on as far as talking about them yet. So if I'm wrong, gentlemen. So the tanks you guys were on was the M48A3.
48A3, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that tank?
Get on a tank that was gas operated. Tanks
Gas
were great.
operated.
I mean, they were like the latest, a long time ago, but they had a small computer in there, which put the super elevation and the, not the windage, but the super elevation and the twisted around for whatever round you indexed into the computer, that went onto the gun automatically. So it made it, a lot easier without guessing.
What
And they were diesel operated.
Okay.
And they were, the explosive level was down with diesel fuel compared to gasoline.
And what types of rounds did you all have back then?
Flechette, we had canister, Willie Peter, HE. We had it all. Actually, it was a pretty good tank for over there. We had rounds and what the M60s would have. 48s were kind of out. The Russians, how can I say? The M60s were 105 millimeter, which they brought all the 90 millimeter 48s overseas to Vietnam. There were no M60s in Vietnam at all. And Army had them, we had them. And it was a transition. Actually, they were a pretty good tank.
Well, they were too heavy for Nam. That's when.
Yeah.
And
they were 10 more tons than the 48.
Okay.
The 48 was 52 tons combat loaded, the 48A3.
Yes.
And this M60 was almost 60 tons.
Okay.
Just too heavy.
And how was
the gun?
How was the battalions and the companies laid out as far as number of tanks, number of platoons, that sort of thing?
25 tanks per company.
Right.
Okay. And
five tanks in a platoon.
The light section and a heavy section. Heavy section had 3, light section had 2. And officers in charge of both, and a staff would be in charge of the light section normally. But we had lance corporals in charge of them too.
How about the variants? Because I know there was a blade tank, because I know you talk about it in your book, Joe. And I know there's a flame tank, because that's my favorite tank in the Marine Corps. But how did they fit into the companies or to the battalions?
Well, they went. They were attached from a headquarters company to the companies. Like everything in the Marine Corps everything is attached. Even their machine gunners, the infantry's machine gunners, come from weapons. That weapons platoon, and the tanks and the Ontos and the LBTs and everything was attached. And that's why we were with so many different infantry units. Marine infantry units, because they used to take they'd be down out in the bush maybe for a month or two, and then they'd go to, say, for a week of in-country liberty, and then they may go to the Da Nang Air Base. But we didn't. If we were with the Bravo 19, when they left, we went to maybe Bravo 39 or maybe Bravo 29. We went right to another infantry unit.
Okay.
So we didn't get any breaks.
So
right, Bob?
Infantry is you're the grunt, and everything else is support. And they just put.
But I mean, the infantry at least got a break for maybe 3 days to a week at China Beach, which was near Marble Mountain. Our base camp was there. And were you ever there? I'm asking.
No, I was there.
You ever at China Beach there, Bob?
Oh, yeah, I was there. Yeah, I didn't have the bathing suit at the time. That didn't come till late after I got left. But
I was never.
China Beach.
Yeah. I mean, we used to pass that when we were back and forth going to our company CP at Marble Mountain. Yeah, depending on how we went back, but I was never there.
Fast as possible.
They had everything. They had housing, bars. They had swimming pools, weight rooms, all that stuff, and a lot of other things. Beer.
That was your Seabees. He set all that stuff up.
Yeah, they did.
Across the road. Yeah.
Let's talk about how you guys got into Vietnam, because I think that's an important thing to draw out. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you both volunteered from your previous duty assignments to go into country. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, that's
Well,
that's
I
just-
did. Bob, I think you did too.
Same thing. Yeah. I had enough of Camp Lejeune and all the playing Marine. I just wanted to go and do something.
I mean,
Swamp Lagoon.
that's incredible. I mean, that's just absolutely commendable. And Joe, did I read in your book correctly that you were the first Marine Corps tank to land?
Second.
Okay.
Second, yeah.
Can you
But
talk about that day?
I should have been a tank commander, but I was a driver because I got busted on Okinawa from corporal to lance corporal.
Pissing on an MP's Jeep, right?
Well, it was on the fender, but he said it was right on his seat. I don't remember.
I did.
Yeah, our CO, he thought Captain Lee, he thought that was hilarious. I says, yeah. I says, everybody thought it did except the battalion commander
Right.
who busted me.
So take me back to that day, that the very first day getting in the country. You know, obviously it was a pretty long sea voyage, and on a pretty
Not too bad. I mean, to come all the way across the Pacific was.
right.
But I mean, we stopped in Hawaii. We stopped in Yokohama, and then we had good livery in Yokohama. I never thought I'd see that. That was a great livery port. That's how I always pictured it. You know, real crowded streets. You know, Navy, Marines, lots of bars, houses of ill repute, which I never used.
Right.
But no, it was a very exciting place to go. You know, and Okinawa was great liberty too then, but the war ruined that.
I left the San Diego pier. It would be the Broadway pier on USS General Mitchell, which was a troop transport. It's a big ship. And from there, I went to Naha, Okinawa, and we went right over to the USS Navarone, which is an amphibious attack transport. And 6 days later, I arrived in Vietnam at 21st of September, 1965. We got off, and I think it was Wallace and Green who gave us a little speech, told us most of us wouldn't come back home the same way we got there. And I was told to take my laundry bag, take what necessary clothing I need, extra pair of boots, trousers, a blouse, the whole bit, and put all my stuff back in a sea bag, fill the tag out, and put it in a pile. That's the last time I saw it. And then from there, I got a truck down to Marble Mountain at Bravo's base camp, and from there, the Hill 55, and then from there out to 85% of the time I was with support of Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, 9th Marines.
Okay.
Yeah. And that I forgot to mention, I came across on a troop ship also from San Diego. That's where you left from, right, Bob?
Yes, at Broadway Pier, downtown San Diego.
Right, yeah. And it was the USS Gaffey.
Okay.
And the same thing. We stopped in Hawaii, but then we stopped in Yokohama, and then Okinawa. Same story, but I just forgot to tell you it was a troop ship.
Okay.
It
And then
was a real scout too.
when did your paths cross?
Gee.
Pardon? Say again.
When did your two gentlemen's paths cross?
We each other over there.
Oh no, yeah. But I mean, in Vietnam, Bob.
Right.
Yeah, we knew each other.
It was
There.
a Bravo company. You were on 3-1 when I first got it.
Bravo 1-4.
Yeah, but you were on my tank first.
Yeah, that was before I got promoted to Lance Corporal and shipped out to the field. I was an extra for until
Yeah. Well, they changed everything around. They sent you to 2nd platoon,
they did
and
everything.
then and Lee Tannehill, he went to flame tanks.
So the tank you two gentlemen were on then, straight main gun, because I know Joe, you were on a blade tank for a little bit. How did you transition off the blade tank?
It was right around when Bob got to B company.
Okay.
Because when the CO called me back there, I had made meritorious corporal. I know I made corporal again pretty quick, but then I got a meritorious sergeant in like 2 months. So the skipper called me to BCOM. He wanted me to go over there. He says, "You're going to take over 3-1." The tank commander who was on there became the supply sergeant.
Okay.
So that's when I took it over. That's when I met Bob, and then Lee, and then Charlie Doring.
I don't know about today in tanks, but back then, rank didn't really mean too much. You could be a lance corporal, be a tank commander, and have a sergeant.
Oh yeah,
gunner.
I agree.
Everything, yeah, it didn't really, rank didn't really matter. It's what you knew.
Yeah.
Okay.
And who liked you.
So you said 3-1. So that's 3rd platoon. That's the 1st tank of 3rd platoon.
Correct.
Okay.
3rd tanks, 3rd platoon, 1st tank.
Okay. So how were your tanks?
I'm sorry, 3rd tanks, 3rd platoon, 1st tank.
How were your platoon? How was your tanks laid out in the platoons? Because nowadays, the 1 is normally the officer, 2 is normally a staff NCO who's his wingman, his lead. 4 is going to be your platoon sergeant, and 3 is going to be your junior tank.
Yeah, that it's the same. Yeah, I was a tank commander of the CO's tank. He was only on it 2 times.
Okay, so you were the 1 tank. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
B company, 3rd platoon, 1st tank.
Okay.
Bravo
How long were you in country before you got 3-1?
6 months, I guess, something like that.
And that was obviously long enough to see some combat. Is that right?
Well, I had another year to do with the 2 extensions I got.
No, I mean when
3rd platoon got.
When you took over 3-1, you were already a seasoned combat veteran. Is what I was trying to say.
Well, yeah, because I saw combat on the blade tank.
Okay. I
was on the blade tank the first time the battalion that was at Hill 327 got mortared.
Okay.
And that was, we had some small actions, but that when we got mortared that night, that was, that just scared the living shit out of me, man. Them 82 mortars.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Come down with
and they lost. Were you up there, Bob?
They come down with a pretty good thump, don't they? 82 millimeters.
They rocked the tank, if they were close enough.
Mm.
But they lost. We had 3 killed that night. The XO, Lieutenant Krause. I sent you a picture of him. He's at them 2 officers that are sitting in that. It looks like they're in a tent.
Okay.
The thinner guy was First Lieutenant Krause. He was filling in as an XO. And he died the next day at the Marble Mountain Naval Hospital, the Quonset Hut Hospital. And I forget the other guy was a captain. They were friends. He had gone on to stay with him,
Mm-hmm.
But I remember him, nice guy. The guy I knew, I can't remember his name, of course, that was in headquarters company there at battalion.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew them officers real well. And he's the one who sent me that picture. That buddy, that I can't remember his name, who sent me that picture, is the one who told me that captain went with him on the medevac, and he was with him when he passed the next morning. But no, that was, we had gotten hit with 60 mortars. They were pretty bad before that, but those 82s, whoa. And you get that screaming shrapnel and the stink of the cordite in the air, real still air, a lot of smoke, dust.
So
what do you say, Bob?
You can hear them coming in.
When you came over to 3-1, what seat were you sitting inside that tank? What billet were you holding?
Me?
No, Bob.
Bob was the gunner.
everything. I started off as a driver, then a loader. I liked the loader position. I was a gunner for quite a while. I got my first Purple Heart when I was a gunner.
Okay.
We hit 'em
Yeah.
up.
Well, you outranked. Didn't really matter. I mean, these guys were great warriors, you know.
Right.
But Lee was all he wanted to do was load. That's all he wanted to do. He said, and he was a very intelligent guy.
Hmm.
You know?
Guys who just wanted to drive.
Yeah, like Charlie Doring. That's all he did. And John Sakely.
Bob, how did you get your first Purple Heart?
I was a gunner on the tank. Early on, we were doing a lot of sweeps, search and destroy. Things got boring. A lot of convoys, first tank, last tank, and maybe one in between if we were lucky. One day we're going down, I think a route about a mile north of or west of Liberty Bridge. And we hit a mine, and I was the gunner. And I didn't like being a gunner because I couldn't see anything except through the scopes. And my life depended on 3 guys that probably knew as much as I did, which was not that much. And the mine went off right underneath of me. And I went up, I guess the tank went up, and the tank came down before I came down. And they said I had abrasions. Well, I had blood all over me. Chewed up my helmet pretty good. I got out of the tank. I took a couple swigs of water, spit it out, and said, let's move on. It hit the tank so bad, it bellied the bottom of it and broke all the batteries. So between the acid and the smoke and everything else going on, that night
lots of dust.
A lot of dust. Yeah, we towed the tank back to Hill 55. And the next morning, my eye was black with a little red dot, and I was all kinds of colors on the side of my face. So they took me down to Charlie Mid, took x-rays, gave me some ice, gave me a hot meal, told me to take a shower, put my same dirty clothes on. I was on light duty for 2 weeks and then back out in the field.
Wow.
There was no one else.
And I think it's important to mention, so the role of the tanks out there, and we talked about this, I think, off the air. You all, I mean, Marine Corps tankers from even back then were combat service support. We supported the infantry. That's what we do. How did that be, especially being the one tank? How were those missions kind of assigned? And was it, you know, I'm so used to the way we do things now. You know, there's briefs upon briefs, and there's sand tables, and there's, you know, there's a lot of planning that goes in, you know, except for maybe Iraq and some instances in Afghanistan. But for the most part, A, we know who the enemy is. B, we have a pretty good intelligence. And C, we have pretty good understanding of the terrain and whatnot.
You didn't have any of
that. I imagine you guys didn't have any of that shit. So how did you do it?
Very seldom you saw more than 2 tanks. It's usually 2 tanks to a squad or a platoon at the most. You bring company of infantry in, we'll get 3 or 4 tanks. But I would say 95% of the tanks was never more than 2. And we never knew where we were. They didn't tell us. It was a need to know basis. And being a Lance Corporal, I didn't need to know. So I did whatever was necessary. The maintenance on the tanks. Sleep deprivation was a bad one for me as far as I'm concerned. You're with the infantry. You get done at the end of the day, or hopefully in a day before you get started. You got to check your weapons out. You got to check your fuel, your filters, and everything else. You got to do the maintenance. You want to get something to eat, and then some captain or staff NCO comes along and says, well, we got tanks, stand guard all night long. And that's what we did. Next morning, we did the same thing. 3 or 4 days, and it kind of worked on you.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, if you can sleep really sound on a bunch of ammo boxes on the deck of a tank, you're doing okay. They just use
Or in a bunker, sleeping bunker.
Yeah, sleeping pillow. I had a pillow down there. Everybody used the same pillow.
With a canvas top on it.
Yep.
And you're getting mortared like every 3rd night or sometimes every night. And I would end up sleeping in a tank because I got trapped in that bunker one time down there by the leper colony, Bob.
Yeah, I know that one.
On that hill there overlooking them rice paddies. And I tell you, I never again went in a bunker after that.
I stayed in the tank. I one time I didn't get off the tank for almost 3 weeks. I slept in the engine department.
It's like Charlie Doring. I don't think he got off it for the whole 18 months he was there.
Yeah.
He slept in the driver's compartment, and he always came out to eat or nature's calling, right?
Mm-hmm.
He slept in the driver's compartment.
Put a tarp over the gypsy rack, stretch it out to the back, and sleep underneath of it. And that's what you did when it rained.
So,
Yeah.
Joe, one of the things I didn't read yet in your book, you had mentioned the operations. A lot of the operations you all went on, typically, lasted for quite some time. How was the resupply done? Now, I know with your tanks, you all could run a hell of a lot longer than we can, but or could, I should say. But how was your resupply handled?
It was good.
Who did it
Only
and
C
how?
rations.
No, I'm talking about like fuel for the tanks and ammunition.
Fuels, they would drop. If you weren't that far from your company CP, they'd call you back there to refuel.
Okay.
And if you were down, like way down south, like Anwa or something like that, they would drop it in bladders. The helicopters would fly them in, and they're big rubber bladders, and then you'd have to use the hand pumps to put that 300 gallons of fuel in there.
Same with the
napalm.
napalm.
150 at 2 tanks, 150 in each tank.
Okay.
Yeah, same with the napalm. We used to mix it with a 2x4 or paddle or something and haul it in, put it in by buckets.
You said napalm?
Yeah, we would mix the napalm by hand, put it in a bucket, hand it up to the guy on top of the tank, and he would put it in a funnel, and that's how we filled the tanks out in the field.
Yeah, did you go? Were you on a flame tank before you got? You were on that gun tank at the 2nd platoon.
I wouldn't go near a flame tank. I want nothing to do with it.
Neither would I. I wouldn't even get on one.
No.
I've seen too many Amtracs
gallons and
blow up full of Marines inside. That's why they used to put sandbags around the edge. They all ride on the top.
There's 550 gallons of napalm in a flame tank, and there's only 2 inches of steel between you and the inferno if you get hit.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's incredible. And it's under high pressure.
Yeah, you're
Wow. So, Joe,
I've never seen one hit a mine though. I mean, a real bad, like a stomach. I call it a stomach wound under the center of the bottom of the tank, where you only got like an inch there of steel on the 48. I tell you, I mean, and I lost 3 tanks over there, and two of the mines were really bad. When I got medevaced out, and of course I was stupid. I turned down 2 times. I was at that naval hospital there, and I turned down a Purple Heart each time. Charlie Med at Marble Mountain there, the Quonset Hut Hospital.
Well, they moved up a little.
I said, when am I going to Japan or Okinawa or Philadelphia Naval Hospital? He says, your company gunner is going to pick you up tomorrow morning. You're going out on that same operation you got hurt on.
Yeah,
with a crutch. I says, how am I going to get on the tank? And the doctor says, somebody will give you a leg up. Don't worry about it. I had my whole right side and right hip were like purple with contusions.
Charlie Med the first time, they sent me back after a day of x-rays and ice and stuff, and overlooking what they call Arizona territory on Hill 55. We didn't have any names for anything at the time. So I always thought nothing like a one-eyed Marine staying to watch over a battalion. It just, it was amazing what they did, what we had.
Right.
Yeah,
well, you got wounded 4 times, and the last time you got wounded was a machine gun?
No, I got by a sniper.
Sniper? But that was a very serious. You still got problems with that, right?
I do. Yeah.
What happened?
We were 2.5 miles north of Liberty Bridge on a outpost called BOP 1 and BOP 2. I was a Lance Corporal, and I was a tank commander because my tank commander, Bobby Adcock, wonderful, what a Marine and what a gracious person he is, and his family.
He was. There is, yeah.
Good guy, yeah. I still talk to him once in a while. He got hit on Operation Swanee. Jose Alvarez got a Silver Star. Bobby got a Bronze Star with a Combat V, and I got a Navy Commendation with a Combat V. They hit us so hard it blew the antennas and everything else between RPGs, machine gun fire, we were hit pretty hard. The infantry was stuck they were stuck, and we got in between the enemy and the infantry, and 27 body count. I don't know what else was there. It was a busy day. But anyway, a month after Bobby got hit, they medevaced him out. They made me tank commander and went to BOP 1, BOP 2, Bravo Outpost 1 and 2, with a squad, so-called squad, maybe 10 infantry from 1st Battalion, 9th Marines, 19, and 2 corpsmen. So that has to tell you something. But they put us on a sandbar 50 feet from a river's edge, looking over at the jungle. And one day, day after day, you're sitting in the tank, and the loader's hatching the tank command. And after about a week or two, it gets kind of monotonous. So we had a little cubby hole in the back of the tank. And then one day, they say approximately 6 snipers opened up, and they were not Viet Cong. They had nice rifles, and they just picked 3 of us off. I got shot through the side. It went through my belt on the left side, came out my right hip. Got operated on at Charlie Med, then down to the Philippines, and then we went to Okinawa, and then that was at Camp Lesser, I believe, and then Honolulu, Hawaii, and then from there I went to Air Force Hospital, and then to McGuire Air Force Base, Philadelphia Naval Hospital, and then I was discharged at full duty, went to Quantico as a instructor, and then I got kind of sick and wound up in a hospital down there too, and got discharged.
Man,
Bob, what? When did you get to Quantico? Because that's where I got out from, Quantico.
Yeah,
I was supposed to be an instructor
here.
at Marine Corps schools.
Yeah.
And when I didn't ship over, they put me in guard company, and I became a brig supervisor.
March 1967, and when I got discharged on the 10th of March, and I had 3 days off, and then I got stationed at Quantico on the 13th of March 1967.
Okay, what was your MOS there?
I was in 1811. I still a tank.
You went to that tanks they had there. They had a small unit of tanks.
Yeah, for the dog and pony show.
Yeah.
Then they
had
made
M60s, didn't they?
the 103s. We had a couple of them too, but they never moved.
No, the M60s. Did they have the M60 then?
No, we had the 48s.
48 A3s.
I've never been in an M60.
But I was supposed to go teach the brown bars that were going to tanks.
That's what I did.
Now that's the best place they would could have sent me.
Right.
They say it's an honor,
but I wouldn't ship over. So they think they're getting back at me. I said, I don't care if you have me shoveling SHIT. I'm not going back there.
Well, they say it's an honor and a privilege to be stationed at Quantico, but it is one big dog and pony show. I mean, we're back to the junk in the bunks, locker inspections.
It was too spit and polish for me.
Unbelievable.
Right.
And Joe, so
tankers, we used to having the diesel fuel all over us, and we just aren't the spit and polish.
Really?
Speaking of spit and polish,
but Bob was a squared away Marine.
Yeah, I tried.
You gave me a hard time when you found out what I do for a living, and you mentioned about the major that you all had with you for some time. Can you tell the story about A, getting lost, and B, having that bird come over top of you and direct you out of what could have been a real bad situation?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. This was we were down at that infantry forward outpost. By the leper colony. It was all kids there with leprosy. You passed that going in from the beach. Yeah. But first battalion, Bravo Company, but I forget what platoon it was. Well, it was a company from 19 Bravo. All of a sudden, they got a change of orders, and they evacuated all them out off that hill in probably 3 hours. It was done. And then they flew in there was a company, I forget the name of it, what number it was, but it was 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, and they were all green, just in country. They couldn't have been there that long. Their uniforms were all new, and they had that Paris Island look about them, And I figured, okay, this ought to be fun. So that night, maybe an hour after they were settled there, one of their the company gunny came around to the tanks and said, we're leaving on a mission tomorrow with the 3 tanks, a recon. I said, Gunny, you're going to do recon with a tank? I says, you ever been on a tank? He said, no. They can hear you coming a mile away. How are you going to do a recon? He said, all you got to do is obey the orders. I said, okay. So there was a major. The next morning, we were up like 5 o'clock, right? As the sun was starting to come up, maybe. And it was the 3 tanks that were there. They gave us a fire team on each tank. And then on the first tank, a major, Marine Corps major, couldn't have been a company commander. Company commanders aren't they're usually captains. He came from up the chain somewhere. And so we left, and he took us so far south, kept radioing over to the first tank. Gill was on the first tank, Gillum. And Heseltine was on the second, and then I was on the third. I was bringing up the rear. Gill was the lead out tank commander for this operation. I think I told you we agreed that we didn't have a platoon leader with us, which by that time they never came out anymore. So we just
they didn't want to go out.
Just drew straws to see who's going to lead out, and then he was like the platoon commander for that day. So anyway, we were so far south, we were way below the Duck Mountain chain, which is where Anwa was. We were south of that. I was never that far south before. And we're almost in the 7th Marines. We're probably a half a mile from the 7th Marines, which were at July. We were from their TOAR, where their line was, where their the area that they took care of. So I never been that far down south. I was a good ways north before I left, but never. And starting to get dark. Right now, we're miles away. There was Bob. Remember them Piper Cubs they used to use for forward observers for to call in airstrikes or artillery?
I do. Yeah, they used to tilt their wings.
Bird dogs, they call them. Bird dogs. Yeah.
Yes.
We had one come low over the first tank, and he dropped the canteen down. And then remember the canvas covers that was on the metal ones?
Yes.
There was a note in stuff down in that cover. And Gil got it, read it, and he rated me. He goes, "We got to get out of here right away. We got to go as fast as we can go." I think it was northeast. He said, "Just take a northeast heading and get out of there as fast as you can. You're surrounded." I'm here, holy shit. So that's what we did, and we ended up at an Arvin camp.
Yeah, that was a waste.
Well, just remind that they had all these cute little whitewashed rocks, lining the side of the road, and we were safe in there. I know there was VC in there, but we would have destroyed that camp if they ever fired on us. And we had plenty of beer to drink and everything. But the next day, that idiot, that major, he disappeared. He just left us there. But one of the incidents that happened earlier, the day before, was we came up to this cemetery, and there was a village to the right of it, and you could see the trip wires, the nylon fishing line, all over the place practically. And I called, I think it was Gil in the lead again that day. I says, yo, I says, this thing's mine. I says, he wants to go through this? He said, yeah. I says, I'm not going through there. And he says, neither am I. You know what kind of mines are there?
Wow.
And then we met him on the other side, and he comes up, I'll have your stripes for this. I'm there. Why don't you call him now? Why don't you call him now so I can go back? He said, you're a wise ass. And then he leaves, and he was yelling at all the tank commanders. They didn't do what I ordered, but we did, I mean, Major, as a tank commander, you see a dangerous situation for your vehicle. You don't have to do it.
Man.
What I remember,
if it's danger to your vehicle or your crew.
Joe,
Do they still have that?
They do. Absolutely. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Joe, what I remember,
So nothing ever came of it. Now, we reported this guy to our, you remember Lieutenant Garber, Bob?
sure do.
He was a platoon leader, I think, for 3rd Platoon. Or it might have been 2nd Platoon. But anyway, because they switched around. He's the one who got poisoned with the
C4.
He was
Cooking C4.
yeah.
I was
He
there.
put a piece in his canteen cup with coffee in it
Yeah, he said the
to
hell with
heat it up instead of putting it under the can.
it. Better back them out.
And he poisoned himself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Took him out.
Yeah, I told him.
I
to
think
take
he'd
it out.
live, but
I told him to take it out. I was there when he did it, and I said, "Why don't you just take it out?" He said, "It's not going to bother me." So he swallowed it, and that was it.
Holy cow.
it's deadly poison. Smell it, the fumes from it, and
Man.
tasting it. I would never think of it. But he was okay, but we never saw him again.
Man.
That was when Lieutenant Lockridge was there when they had 2 platoon leaders there. Remember Lieutenant Lockridge?
He was a good guy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was a good friend of mine. But he died about 3 years ago.
Yes.
And I tell you, what a man. He was a first responder at when they knocked the towers down in New York.
9/11. Yeah, he was the.
He was with the naval militia,
Naval militia. That's right.
and they called him back into the Marine Corps, and they gave him the charge of the whole the Manhattan docks. And he had these cool boats, these heavy rafts with M60s on them and stuff,
Wow.
But he was a hell of a guy, man.
He was
He
good.
was a hell of a guy. I'm glad I went up there to see him, before he passed, because
He was a bird colonel when he passed.
he was a good man.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Were
answer.
you on that? Were you on that sweep we went on with him?
Yes.
When that infantryman lost both legs.
That's a road wheel hit him. I was
Pardon?
going to hit a mine, and the road wheel went out about 150 feet and cut one of the grunts in half and took the legs off the other one.
Wow.
Yeah, it took both his legs off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had tourniquets on it, but he was in so bad a shock. And I watched Lockridge. He went over to him. He was comforting him.
Yep.
I tell you, what a great man.
He was on his knees holding the guy's head. Yep.
Yep.
I
And
remember.
then that Marine died before he got him to the chopper.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. But anyway, I said to myself, now I'd file that guy anywhere.
Now,
He's a good man.
So I was a second tank. I was a loader on the second tank, and I'm looking down at this guy holding the baby with the corpsman put some bandages on her, male or female. I forget what the child was, about 4 years old. And they had taken all of the villagers and put them in front of the tanks, and you could look down at the booby traps that they had. You could see them. They were on top of the ground to keep us from going through. And they pushed those people through. And
Oh yeah. They used him as shields all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'd fire some sniper rounds in a village, hoping to return fire into the village with just old ladies and old men and children there.
they were trying to get.
They would hope that you would burn the village down.
They were
I never fired on a village.
They didn't care.
Fired close to them, but not
Joe,
because I knew there was innocent people there.
No, those people just wanted to be left alone and farm. They just didn't care about any wars. If we didn't kill them in the
Nope.
daytime, the VC killed them at night. They're caught in the
Yeah, well, the VC would threaten them with cutting their heads off and put them up on a bamboo pole.
Yep.
The village chief, if they cooperated with the Americans.
Yep.
And then the South Vietnamese, them like they weren't even human.
When did you all know that the war was going to be a long time? Because I think I remember reading that when you first got over there, number one, there was a whole lot of information as far as exactly how long or where you were going, and I think some people said 6 months. When did you all know that this was the real deal and this was something that was going to be pretty horrible for a pretty long time?
Well, Joe, can I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
I was a PFC because I got busted earlier, and I finally made PFC and went over.
Everybody got busted then.
Yeah. And I was standing guard on the blade tank and over the hill looking at Arizona territory, and I felt quite comfortable there. I had hot food, I had warm showers, I had cold beer.
Was that a battalion, Bob?
Yeah, and a tent to sleep in. And then one day they said they saw a VC down there was armed. So they asked for volunteers. And I said, hey, I'm a Marine. Let me put on my pistol belt and grab my 14 and run down there. Well, we went around for about a half an hour, 45 minutes. We didn't see anything. So we kept it quiet. On the way back, I was the second from the back. And there was a little pagoda. Now, I'm a kid from Philadelphia. This is Oriental, man. This is pretty neat. So I went in there and I looked at it. There's a little wall in the front. And I'm looking around. There's incense, but nothing's burning. And it just was Oriental. I never seen Oriental before. And there's a cabinet on the back wall. So I decided, well, I'm
Buddhist.
I'm going to snoop Google a bit. And then I turned around and opened the cabinet door and I saw two things. One hand holding a hand grenade and another hand turning around, pulling the pin. I just hit the ground on the other side of that wall when the grenade went off, and I shot 5 or 6 rounds into him. And I'm 20 years old, and I'm looking down at the guy and I'm saying, I just killed somebody. And, just me and him. And it's still, I can still resonate from it. And coming back, and then all of a sudden, because everybody else was complaining, want to go out in the field. And I thought I had a pretty good thing going. They said, we're going to promote you to Lance Corporal and send you out with the line company. So that's when I went out with the line company. About a week later, they sent four Marines out at night to a little hooch. 3 of them came back dead. And they laid right next to me on my tank on the sand. And I looked at them all night long. And I said, this is a dangerous place. You can get killed very easily here.
Oh, yeah.
God.
One mistake.
I mean,
Yeah. A lot of little things. I saw a lot of people get hurt. We had an 85% casualty rate.
Mm-hmm.
85%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our tank losses, B Company, the first 12 months, lost 17 tanks from that one company.
Wow.
I mean, if they hit a mine and the hull's cracked, that's it. Tank's done. You can't use it no more.
They served it.
They surveyed it. Yeah.
Early on, Jody, the mines were pretty light. They were just blowing off track and some road wheels and support wheels.
But they got heavier and heavier every single day.
They would
I mean,
So
they
were
were
learning.
putting in like 40 pounds of TNT in some of them.
Well, the mine I
40
hit,
pounds.
when I got hurt in the first one, I think it lifted that tank off about 3-4 feet in the air. I mean, it just lifted that front right corner up in the air and slammed it down. That's how I got hurt.
Yeah, two of the tanks I lost were, track blown off, road wheels, the idler might be messed up or, but then that tank's offline till it's fixed. Remember how short we were trying to get our maintenance was trying to get parts?
Couldn't get
and
parts.
Forget getting a new tank.
Mm.
Couldn't get
You know what they did, Major and Bob? Well, you knew this, Bob.
Sorry, Joe. I would say the mines towards the end were actually cracking the hulls. They would put cracks in it. You could see through them.
Well, usually if it was around the center of the bottom of the tank, it would go through, probably 5 pounds of TNT would crack the hole.
Yeah.
But
So
you
what-
put 40 pounds in there, it's going to blow a hole in the tank, and the tank's going to go. And the last one I lost, I got blown right out of TC hatch. That's when I hurt the whole right side because it scraped against the opening of the hatch on the right.
Yep.
What was-
And
what was the
it's just
terrain?
loaded with arthritis today, but you know all about that.
What was the terrain that you all were traveling on? Were you trying to was there a road system? Were you guys trying to travel on the roads, or how were they attacking the tanks, or were they just burying them right out in the middle of the field?
Well, south of Da Nang was all sand, and it was a lot of sand and stuff. North of Da Nang was pretty flat, and west of Da Nang was flat. And for about 6 miles, they started hitting hills. But we got around pretty good. We couldn't get every place we wanted to. We stayed away from the rice paddies because still water runs deep. You don't know how dry or how deep it was.
Okay.
We get stuck once in a while. And the roads, we would slide off sideways and then had to get towed out.
Yeah, it's better that way.
Their dirt roads couldn't handle a tank.
Okay.
Nah, well, they mine the roads. You always are off to the side, or sometimes they mine the center and both sides.
Well,
Because they saw how we were doing it, and they adjusted how they planted the mines. Mines were we were out in the bush, man. I hated to get off the tank.
one of the things the grunts were really worried about as we went by, they would take the old laws. If they shot a law off and they throw the empty canister away, the VC or North Vietnamese, they would take those and put hand grenades in them and hang them from the street. So when you went by, it would pull it and 5 or 6 grenades would come out, and the infantry stayed away from us.
And as soon as they came out, the spoons flew off.
Yeah, it flew off, and that was it. One of the things with us is, you talk about tank infantry tactics, how you leapfrog infantry tanks. That never happened. The infantry, when we were moving, was never in front of us. We were always in the front.
Yeah. Well, I used to tell them to get back in case I had to fire to the sides.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to not only, with the coax firing, 30 caliber, and then maybe an M60 I had mounted on top of the turret, just on a tripod, with wired down with the radio cord.
Well, one of the things, you hear about, like with the tanks in Iraq and Afghanistan, they would hit something and they would stop and ask for support. When we got hit, we had to turn the tank around and head for it. We had to go as fast as we could wherever the firing was coming from. And normally, if you got pajamas.
Well, that was the best way to do it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and we had
shock tactic. Dangerous, but better than sitting there.
Yeah, we tried not to stop. Believe me, when we would get hit, and because obviously, like you said, and a lot of the times with the tactics they used out in the Middle East, they would hit the first tank with a smaller IED. You would stop the platoon, and actually the bigger IED would be behind, and
yes,
they try to take out the subsequent tanks. So we tried not to do that, but as you well know, tank gets hit, track comes off, or something bad happens, you're going to stop. So
along some of the roads, they had little anti-tank groups. They would have 2 or 3 guys, and they would get there at night. They stay in that hole, the VC or North Vietnamese, all night long into the next day. And if the tank would by, they would fire 1 round and take off. By the time we tried to figure out what was happening, they were gone. So we always worried about those 2 or 3 guys that had the balls to stay 20, 30 hours around waiting for us to come by. They did it. They were good.
they were disciplined. They're very disciplined.
Yeah, I have
very tough enemy.
Yes.
So were you for your combat operations? Were you mainly in the bush, the jungle, or did you actually get into some of the villages and cities?
We did. I got into Da Nang the first time when the South Vietnamese Marines rebelled against the South Vietnamese government, and we were shipped in there to take them down. I didn't get any combat in there, but I remember going through Da Nang. Downtown was all blasted up. So it was.
Well, you went through there with the Arvin Guards, though, didn't you? The times,
Yes.
you know, when the monsoons, when the rivers were too
Yeah.
swollen to cross, even though with the ferry, we took one tank at a time, had 3 little Evinrude motors on the back.
Wow. That's incredible.
Sideways on that ferry. I said, no, we're across.
Wow.
And then the engineers, they built them pontoon bridges,
Yeah.
but they didn't last long because they blow them up.
Yeah, all the time, along Liberty Bridge. You have to understand that the equipment we had, the sea rations were older than I was.
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked at the dates, I was born in 1940.
Yeah, Second World War.
43, 44, 45, and into the 50s. So I was in elementary school when that food meeting was made. And we did not have the equipment. And there's a whole new theory of how the Marine Corps is going to run, but I can't see them getting secondhand equipment from the Army. It's just like the First World War. They wore Army uniforms. They had to drill holes in their helmets and put emblems in there to say I'm the Marine, not the Army.
Right.
We always got to we had, when I was in Santo Domingo, the Army had better equipment. They had the M16s, they had jungle boots, they had the new utilities, they had everything we did not have. We still had gasoline trucks and Jeeps. They had diesel trucks. We thought they were tanks coming up the road. We swiveled the gun around to point at it, and here's an Army truck coming up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I gotta
they were
say,
all diesel.
yep. One of the things for the officers, and you can see the after action reports and some of the stuff, they had a hard time getting parts. We could never get parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that was historical with tanks. It's parts
Well,
is the biggest thing.
What they did, they bought, like, if Alpha Company, I think they were north of us. Alpha Company 3rd tanks around the Hill of Angels or something. They were up near, I forget the town, but anyway, they actually sent us. At one time, Bravo Company, the whole company only had 3 tanks.
Yes.
3 tanks. That's it. They sent us 2 tanks from Alpha Company. So this is in my book, but like the Alpha, I mean, they were good tankers and they were warriors too, but you know, they were not used to operating in the area we were in. So it was like, okay, you're going out with guys that were never in the jungle combat. Because they were like more around a city up there or something. It was like just like they were on the line for guard duty. Wasn't much happening up there then. So we got them down there, and then that's how, you know, that we kept operating, you know, on such few amount of tanks. Well, we didn't have, even if we were at full capacity with tanks, you still did not have enough. The 3rd Marine Division then was the, what they call it, the 3rd Marine Amphibious Force, which was a reinforced division.
Mm-hmm.
And we still had to support them with the few tanks that we had. We only had, what, at that time, Bob, 3 battalions in the whole country?
Yes.
Yeah. How could 3 battalions do a reinforced division?
Right.
It was the 1st, 3rd, and the 5th.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Joe, you had told me the story of The Walking Dead, and how that kind of came to be. Can you talk about
19?
Yeah. Can you talk about the bounties that were put out for the Marines, and in particular for the tanks?
Joe, can I say something about that? They didn't have the moniker of the Walking Dead at that time. They certainly were practicing for it. I mean, they were doing their thing, but that didn't come till after I left at Walking Dead.
No, that came when I was there.
Did it?
In fact, we were on an operation with Bravo 19, and they captured a courier from North Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And they took him prisoner, and then they got the interpreter there to talk to him. And he had, in his case, he had a letter in there that was supposed to be delivered to the VC and the NBA in that area, that Marble Mountain area, and then south and west, all the way over to 55 and Hill 22 over there, and even at Amwa. And they found a letter in there, and the interpreter said, this is a bounty for Bravo 19 on their heads, because they did so much damage to the VC.
They did.
Down there. I think their numbers were 50% compared to 100% when we got there. And they had, put North Vietnamese troops in there to support them, the NVA. So there was a black, now I got the story secondhand because we were on a tank and I was just watching them. I couldn't hear what they were saying. But anyway, Pappy told Bruce, and Bruce told me that letter was in there and what it said. So he said there was a squad leader there, and he says he's the one who said, well, I guess we're the Walking Dead. Because the letter said he wanted all Bravo Company dead, as general from the north, and there would be a reward. So that's when they took the moniker The Walking Dead. It was with Bravo. Now they fight like hell between different organizations that are the 9th Marine Regiment, and they all think they got it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the story I heard. And that was in 1966.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try to bring this out. All right, for all the tankers watching, don't be angry with me because I'm not going to say the word. However, there's a story that came around tank battalions when I came through, that we've taken on, and we think we can attribute it to you all gentlemen, and it's regarding a certain fruit, and the fruit is kind of like a peach, but not, and it's orange and it's fuzzy. And we don't say the word. My kids have never said the word, and I've seen firsthand what can happen with this, and there, it's a split belief on this, whether or not it's a curse or not. I personally subscribe to the fact that yes, I will never say the word, and I will never eat them again. I'm a tanker till I die. Do you all know what I'm talking about?
Yes, we do.
Okay. The story that I got was that the first time that something like that happened was World War II, but where it really became a thing was with Vietnam tankers. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know how and why without saying the word? Because I don't want to curse the channel for all of existence.
Now, I don't know how it began. I don't know how it grew, but it did. I've heard about it a couple times over there.
I heard it about a few times too, but I didn't know the source of it, where it originated.
Okay. All right. But you guys subscribe to it as well?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We'll leave it there. I'm walking down a dangerous road here. I'll stop there. One of the things I noticed talking to you gentlemen, first of all, you guys are true American heroes. I mean, it's just phenomenal, the things that you've gone through. And, I am humbled having this opportunity to speak with you both. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But one of the things I noticed with both of you is that you guys are very proudly still wearing your Marine Corps shirts. And Joe, I see your Tanker Association there. This year has been a very tough year, as you all know, and it has affected those of us that are currently wearing the uniform. But I know it has also affected you gentlemen that certainly earned the title Marine Corps Tanker. And the reason for this channel is kind of twofold. One is to capture the stories, and the stories you all have told me, just phenomenal, just really historical, and something that needs to be out here for today's generation to hear. But the second part of that is to provide a message to the community, and the community is not just those of us that are serving right now. The community is much, much larger than that. Those of us that came before even you gentlemen, all the way back, like the name of the channel says, 100 years. And that message is Marine Corps tankers are special, and we have a lineage to uphold, and we have a very proud heritage. What message do you all have for the community writ large post divestment?
Well, you want to go first, Bob?
I would say don't forget about each one of us, and remember what we did and why we did it. Not to fade away. We had a purpose, and we fought hard for it, and like to keep that legacy, whatever it takes. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, I have two things. One is, if you do end up in a war, you have to take another mindset, and you guys know this, that you give your enemy no quarter. No quarter. Just do it and file it and forget it. Don't try to make any common sense out of it. It's crazy. War is crazy. Just do your job. Second was, when I got back from Vietnam, and this is also in my book, I came back to a country that was not the country that I left. So I want to come back to the country I left when I was 18 years old.
Not going to happen.
Well, don't look that way now, but I'll never stop wanting that.
We can live the past as much as we want.
And what's that guy say on South Park?
You just went to South Park? You just went to South Park right now?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Cartman. I do what I want.
All right, let me lighten it up then, because that was truly something, and I'm not intelligent enough to really make a comment other than the fact that what you all came back to is just an atrocity, and if I can help out a little bit, portraying you all as you should have been portrayed, as heroes, as true Marine Corps tank heroes, coming back after just hell. You guys went through hell, and I don't have a perspective other than the deployments I've been on, but I mean I think they pale in comparison as to what you all have gone through, and to come home and not be recognized for that is just it's unforgivable. But on a lighter note, so Joe, you talked about beer, and I think we talked about the fact that if we have alcohol on the tank while we're tanking, that's kind of a no-no in my world. Not so much in yours, right?
We have plenty of ammo and plenty of beer.
Well, we were careful. We were careful in the bush.
Yeah.
We were careful in the bush because we came up near the end of my tour over there. You had Army moving up from Chulai when they moved the first. Was it the first Mardiv that was down there?
Mm-hmm.
And first tanks was down there, and they moved up and they were filling in positions, and the Army came with them. We came upon, it was a listening post for Army.
Yes.
Had 3 men in there. They were all dead. Their weapons were field stripped. I can never figure it out.
That's probably the 3 that were next to my tank. It was a listening post. 4 went out and 3 didn't come back. Or they did. They say they.
That might have been it. Yeah. Maybe 1 came back, but why were their weapons broken down?
Well,
unless the enemy did it.
Now they were told to take them apart and clean them while they're out in the listening post, which is pretty dumb.
Mm-hmm. But yes, very not logical. But I mean, I've seen things over there. I know Bob has, and Sakely I still talk to, and the other guys that are gone when I used to talk to them. The craziest things you couldn't even imagine. Just, I better file and forget that one. It'll drive me crazy.
One of the things, Joe,
crazy stuff.
one of the things, Joe,
The guy, like the enemy soldier we found, sitting next to a tree, had his rifle in his lap, and his head was missing, and there was no head around. I mean, you got a strange, warped sense of humor, if you're in combat long enough. And me and the gunner but he was my gunner, and he was really a good gunner. And we saw that, we were cracking up. I mean, what the hell?
yeah.
Really something that I would say now, or when I was before Nam, that would horrify me.
Joe, I just wanted to say this one thing. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia. My parents were German immigrants, and I was a Philly boy. I'm going to be 76 in about 5.5 months from now. And from that time in the Marine Corps, the time I spent in there, I never had a problem with anybody. I didn't like everybody, but I didn't have a problem with anyone. And to this day, I have never met the quality of people, whether they were from New York or they were street gangs or Southern boys or whoever they were. I've never gotten to that plateau to meet that quality of people. I got to say that.
Joe, I'm gonna plug your book.
But Major,
JR.
Thank you for the kind words.
Absolutely.
It means a lot.
So here is your book, The Unforgotten Sons, and that's your tank on the front there, making landing into in country. And
Bravo 3-1. That was March 7th, 1965. Second tank to land.
You guys broke the mold. I've had OIF and OEF up until this point, and you two gentlemen are the first Vietnam tankers. So I thank you. I really do thank you, gentlemen, for coming on here, making the time and telling your stories. For the subscribers, thank you all. We continue to grow. And that's really what gives the channel momentum, and we continue to gain presence on Facebook, and more people will hear about us. If you've not already done so, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell for new episodes, and thumbs up or thumbs down. I'd like to hear what you all think of the interviews.
One word in departing, I just want to say thank you for remembering us.
Oh, of course, sir. Absolutely. This for me is the most powerful moment on this channel so far. I like I said, I have no real frame of reference to understand what you all went through. All I can do is say thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm glad I wrote the book.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, with that, we'll be signing off. Semper Fi, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Semper Fi, Major.
Right. Thank you.